PCS members deliver vital public services every day.
A quarter of us earn less than £16,000.
And most of us under £20,000.
The government's public sector pay policy
means that many of us are either receiving pay rises
below the cost of living
or no pay rise at all.
We're struggling to make ends meet.
I think the general perception of the public is that public sector workers are probably quite well paid. The reality is that there are members of PCS who are earning the national minimum wage or a fraction above it. And we have a quarter of our members earning less than £16,000 a year, and pay rises in the public sector are currently running a lot less than they are in the private sector. These are people who are serving the public of this country, doing everything from issuing driving licences to paying pensioners to collecting tax.
It's very important to me to work in the public sector because I feel that the job that I do makes an impact and makes the difference.
Public servants are not valued for the massive contribution we make to British life, and without our hard work, without our dedication and without our commitment, the country would come to a standstill. And I think it's about time the government recognise the positive contribution we make.
The civil servants work very hard to deliver the vital functions that the public depend upon and deserve pay that keeps in line with inflation at least.
What we're seeing now for thousands of our members is their pay's being cut year on year.
I'm very angry that there is such an appalling rate of low pay across the public sector for people who do jobs that the public rely on.
I don't feel that it's fair that when you hear that MPs are getting £24,000 on just expense accounts and I'm just earning £15,000 a year for doing a 37-hour week. I feel undervalued. I feel perhaps my work is not as important.
When people realise that their local job centre staff are relying on handouts from tax credits, it's just quite a shock to the system for people.
Currently, my pay is so low that I'm not able to afford to have a flat of my own. I'm always using my credit card because I don't earn enough money on a monthly basis to pay the bills, and that's just getting worse and worse. And I think it's getting worse for most PCS members who are in a similar situation.
Being on low wages affects my relationship with my son, because he obviously wants more and more. He's getting older now. Trying to explain to a 9-year-old why you can't really afford to do so much with him when all his friends have got, a lot more than him.
It now means that we, in my family, in our household, we can't survive on just my day job, and reluctantly have had to take a second job at weekends. I'm spending less time with my children, and that's obviously having an effect on my relationship with my children and my relationship with my wife, but it's one of necessity and something that I have to do.
And the minute their salary goes in, their bills go out, and then it's a worry until the end of the month about whether they're going to feed themselves and their kids. What happens if my son or my daughter comes home from school, wants 20 quid for a school trip, how am I going to fund that? And that all adds to a sense of frustration.
Food bills have doubled, gas and electric bills have doubled, my water bill, that's also not doubled, but it has gone up substantially. I feel like I've got less disposable income now than I did 5 years ago. I don't think I'm going to be able to go on much longer scrimping and saving, especially if the cost of living's going up far more than my wages are going up, because in effect I'm having a pay cut every year.
To say whether you're a teacher, a civil servant or a local government worker, all of us deserve to be treated fairer than this.
I'm not paid enough. If I was paid enough, I'd be able to meet my basic bills and I wouldn't have to work extra hours to top up my earnings. To have to struggle all the time is such a slog, and it is quite upsetting.
PCS members contribute every single day to the running of this country, and they're not asking for double-digit pay rises and pots of gold. What we're asking for is a living wage and no cuts in our living standards. We're doing everything we can to negotiate, to campaign, but ultimately we've reached the conclusion that if all of that fails, then we need to stand up to be counted, which is why now we're considering a ballot for industrial action as a last resort.
Please support our campaign for fair pay.
And stop the government ripping the heart out of
our public services.